What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Paradise Valley. This is episode number 8. In this episode, we're obviously working on the Venetian Hotel and Casino. This casino is one that I originally hadn't planned on doing, at least not so soon, but I just started playing around with the road layout. The footage you saw during the time lapse of laying out the roads and building the pond was done several weeks ago last year, before I even finished the Link Hotel in the last episode. But I think doing ponds and layouts is probably my favorite thing to do so far in this series. But I just said to myself I was only going to work on the road layout and the pond just so I can map things out and get a feel for things. And then I'll tackle this casino somewhere down the road. Next, I said I'm just going to pick out a few buildings and keep my eye out on the workshop for anything that I could use. And I've noticed a pattern. As I'm in the process of wrapping up the completion of this build in the present time, I decided which resort that I'm going to take on next. In doing so, I started laying out some roads of another casino, and the exact same thing happened there. And so the casino that I planned on doing next, I'm actually not doing next. I'm doing another casino, but I don't think that casino will take as long. In doing the Venetian over the past several weeks, I realized it was going to take more than one episode, maybe even more than 2 episodes, because the project really just got a lot bigger than I had in mind. This casino is probably, well, not probably, but definitely the biggest build that I've done in the series so far. Even bigger than the Oasis. The Oasis was kind of like the main flagship hotel of this series, and really the main reason why I even started doing this series, because I started working on that hotel as far as asset creation wise before I even had it in mind to do a whole series about the Vegas Strip. So you see right here, this is footage that I've slowed down so you can get a good look at what I did. In recording some of the time lapse of this, I lost a lot of footage, so I decided to slow this down. What you see here is me placing this palace. I don't know the name of it right now. And what I did with this palace is that I went into the asset editor and I changed some of the properties of it. I also think I made it about 75% smaller, but you see the completely white buildings there under the road and in front of the palace I've made obviously in SketchUp and 3D Max, and I don't have any textures on them right now, but I wanted y'all to see how I was able to create this front area in front of the Venetian Hotel. This is before I started really kind of playing around with ploppable asphalt and really trying to get a feel for that. I think in the end, I did kind of get a good grasp of it, but in the end, I think custom assets are a little bit easier for me. Right here is the Venetian Hotel, and this is my first texture that I put on the building. And I really just put anything on it. But when I loaded into the game and I saw how, don't want to say good, but how decent some of the textures look, I decided to go ahead and go with those temporary textures and just polish them up a little bit. You see right here, I'm placing the plaza in front of the palace again, and this time it has textures on it. You can also see the other assets that I've used for the bridge also have textures on them. And so I'm just kind of sizing these up. I really like the way that the textures look on these. And right here, again, you see another cut. And this time, not only do I have the textures on those buildings, but I also have a ton of decals on the roads. I'm placing these custom props in the middle of these intersections. And again, I took a screenshot of the game and I loaded that screenshot into SketchUp, and I just kind of drew around the shape in the road to create a custom prop. And here you see me really struggling with ploppable asphalt. and I thought I had the hang of it. But then as I moved on to other things in the city and I came back, everything just went to shit, just a big shithole. And you know we can't have shitholes in Cities Skylines, so I had to spend a lot of time redoing this until I really figured out how ploppable asphalt worked. But yeah, just in that period of a few minutes on screen, that was probably about a week and a half in real life, going from the temporary buildings to temporary buildings with textures on them, and then placing decals on this bridge, which was probably hell. Placing the decals on the bridge probably took longer for me to do than to actually make a bridge in SketchUp and 3D Max. So yeah, that was so painful, definitely painful, something I never want to experience again in my lifetime. Again, here I'm placing decals on the roads, which is my first time doing this. I said in an earlier episode that I do not want to spend my life placing decals on roads. So right here you see I'm playing with ploppable asphalt, and this is really my first time experimenting with it outside of placing them on roads. And I didn't really have a hard time with this because I didn't move it around a whole lot. I just placed it wherever it landed initially. Here I'm using a custom prop or a custom building just because I absolutely hate the way if you try to move props underground, if you move anything around them later, they will move up. And that also applies to ploppable asphalt as well. So I took this wall and I made a building out of it. That's one of the solutions that I've come up with to really address my issue with it. And again, I just have to detail in a way that allows for me to move things around and change things, not only not only because of me using temporary assets and having to replace things as I move along closer to me finishing, but also just because in general I like to change things around. I like to improve things. I like to add things or take away things over time. I never finish one area and say, hey, it's finished. I'm never touching anything in that area again. And so I just have to have something that's stable that I can move around, that's not gonna change or get destroyed. So this wall or building that you see me using, I'll be using that a lot over the course of doing this area. And again, it's just something that you can move around and play with, and you don't have to worry about it changing or anything. Here I'm experimenting with some of these tiles that I made up. I think in the end, I changed the black tiles. I don't think I used those at all. I think they're a little too dark, and I'm not sure if I changed that or not, but I decided to go ahead and upload those anyway. I'm sure a lot of y'all will be able to find some use for it. And over the course of this build, I really struggled with these tiles, and I actually had to go back to the drawing board and create some corner tiles, which helped in the process. They still didn't tackle the problem 100%, but having some corner tiles and some smaller tiles definitely helped. I'm using this herringbone texture right here. In the end, I don't keep that either, and I go back to the drawing board and create a different decal, like a marble decal. It's the same texture that you see on these custom props that I made for the intersection. It's the same texture as that. And so I create some decals for that I can use over the area. Something that didn't have like a pattern texture that could be overlapped without looking too bad. Again, if you watch previous episodes, I can put up with a lot of things in this game and a lot of things not being perfect. It doesn't bother me. I don't really care. But one thing that I absolutely hate and I seek to avoid at all costs is the Z-fighting or glitching with decals. I absolutely hate that. It's something I can't tolerate. And so I wanted to come up with a decal that from a distance you really can't notice it because of the pattern on it. So anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. I know I didn't make a ton of progress in terms of the actual design of the area, but in reality, this took a shitload long time to complete. As far as creating these different decals, creating the bridge and the walkways, it took a really long time. And so I really just wanted to stop right here as far as this episode is concerned. So if you follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, you can see what progress I've made so far with this build. And you can see the different assets that I've worked on and come up with. My Facebook and my Twitter are in the description. Follow me on Steam Workshop so you can subscribe to all these great assets if you actually have the game. And hit the like button if you appreciate my efforts and have enjoyed what I've done so far with the Venetian Casino. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will see all of y'all in the next episode.